You're all set.
All set? Very good. I want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 13th, 2023. And if you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, very good. The first thing on the agenda is roll call. If you could do the roll call, Noreen, please.
Sure. Chairman Payne,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Commissioner Havens called me and he had a conflict of interest and is excused.
okay. Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Trister,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Droz,
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Pascarelli.
Here. Very
You're all
good.
set.
Thank you. And we're going to
You're
place Commissioner Fox for Commissioner Havens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the next thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I'll ask the town planner if there's any changes.
Mr. Chairman, there is one change when looking at how it was published. So petition 2123, renewal of special permit 3417 for home occupation business under section 3.4.4. After home occupation business, it should say at 172 Indian Hill Road.
Okay.
This was included in the staff memorandum, and staff reviewed previous applications, and at the last approval, the item was brought up as an item not on the agenda. So again, this is more of a administrative function of the TPZ to make the renewal.
Okay. Well, if there's no objections, we'll add that address to petition 2123. Is there anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Yes. Commissioner.
Was the address on it on the online version, or anyone who wanted to go on and read it?
The address was not on the posted agenda. It was just noticed today that the address was not on there.
So I ask
It
if,
wasn't a public hearing though.
you're right,
So it's nothing had to be mailed out for this application.
No.
Correct? So it wasn't.
but it, okay.
Okay.
But someone from the public could have come here this evening to just talk about it, correct?
So it would be for, since it's not a public hearing, they could not talk about it as an item. You know, they could only talk about items not on the agenda during public comment.
That's what I'm saying. So the public would not be aware of where this business was. All I'm saying is not insinuating anything, but a person who wanted to go and complain, just for whatever reason, I'm not saying, they wouldn't have known that that was even part of an agenda based on an address.
The address was not on there, correct? Again, this has been a long established home occupation. The conditions of the home occupation, that if we receive complaints and if it's not in compliance, then we would, if we were ever to revoke it, if the commission was to ever to revoke it, then they would call a public hearing to revoke it. The notice of decision will be published in the paper as well with the 172 Indian Hill Road. As I said, it's not a public hearing. And again, as I noted during the last meeting, I looked at the last minutes of when it was renewed, and it was brought up as an item not on the agenda and added.
It was done in staff because of court stipulation. So it was pretty much staff.
It doesn't bother me. I'm just
Yep.
saying that if someone
Yeah.
wanted
we'll
to
get
come to
a-
a meeting tonight,
we'll-
discuss it off.
We'll get a full report though, if
Okay.
there's anything in history or anything. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think anyone that follows agendas, our agendas, and I'm sure they were around and had any interest in this, I'm sure they were around when this first came about. And it was, I mean, the old TPZ room was full. And I think if they had any problem with it, they, would have said, oh, that must be it, made a call and would have come down. So it really doesn't bother me. It should be, of course, amended or done, whatever you had to do. So I see no problem with it.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Any other comments? All right, we'll make that change. And the first thing on the agenda is public participation. Is there anybody from the public or anybody online that would like to make a statement?
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody, I don't know, maybe you, Paul, maybe, A&R Building, have we heard anything as to when they're gonna start, construction over there on Culver Street? Anybody hear anything or?
No, but if you just make your statements and
I
ask any
just wanna know.
questions, we're not gonna do a back and forth.
So I wanted to know, if anybody know, when you can reply, that's all.
Okay, very good. We'll try it. We'll try to have it on our town planner's report for next meeting if, or maybe even this meeting if he has any knowledge of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak from the public? Is there anybody online, Paul?
There's no one online.
Okay. Any remarks from commissioners? Hearing none, we're going to go to our public hearing. Could I have, does somebody have the procedures for public hearing written down by any chance? You have them? Okay.
I think he usually puts them up.
Yeah, if you could read them, I'd appreciate it. Commissioner?
See if I got them here. There we go. Oh, no. Marks by commissioners.
I didn't bring them in my packet. So. Oh, you want, I'll read it, yeah. Procedures for public hearing. The order of the proceedings at public hearing shall be as follows. A, convening by chairperson. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or the commissioner designated by the chairperson to act in their stead. C, presentation by applicant. D, town planner report on application. E, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application limited to 3 minutes per person. F, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application limited to 3 minutes per person. G, rebuttal by the applicant limited to 5 minutes. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairperson whether the time limitation should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance by a majority vote.
Very good. Thank you very much. And our first petition for the public hearing is petition 15-23. Commissioner Woods, would you mind reading that?
15-23, special permit, section 6.2.5, freestanding sign at 300 Hartford Avenue. Applicant contact Shadi Kessing, owner, 300 Hartford Avenue, LLC.
Very good. Is the applicant online?
So I am not showing the applicant online. They were notified to the department that the hearing was tonight. Unfortunately, I believe Eric was speaking with them and he had to unfortunately leave abruptly today. So I don't have any update on that.
Do you want to go through it a little bit?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep, so what the applicant is proposing to do and share these back and forth. So again, the applicant is 300 Hartford Road. Existing building, industrial zoning. Again, what they had submitted is they originally submitted a plan that was shown, which showed the sign and the placement. You can kind of see up on the screen and I'll zoom in. And then I'll show you what the sign looks like. They originally submitted for a placement of the sign, which appeared to be within the town's, within the right of way along the street. We contacted the owner and said that they needed to have a survey for the property to show the location of the sign. They submitted a updated plan here. They show, again, hand-drawn, showing the adjusted placement of the sign. As noted in the staff report, the sign itself as designed meets the standards. However, staff does not have exact placement of the sign. So that is something that is a staff comment on this application. Itself.
There was two right of ways. Is there a town right of way and a state right of way, or it's just state right of way?
It's just a state right of
State
way.
right of way,
Yeah.
and it's a little farther than normal.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Let me share.
What business it is.
Yeah.
Normally they would,
It's right across from Ball for Capital Pipe.
Oh.
They used to make trolley parts there, believe it or not. But obviously must be used for something different now.
okay, so this is the sign design. Again, Marketing Solutions Unlimited LLC. The typical, what we see with the sign, the pedestal sign was 300 Hartford Ave, putting their address on it. Typical standard markings. And again, if the applicant was here, they would kind of go through the need for it. And
Not lit. It's not lit, or
from my understanding, it wasn't. Unfortunately, I said caught at a little disadvantage with Eric had been.
even if it was lit, it's all in the industrial area right
Yeah,
there.
and even if it was lit, it would comply with the zoning regulations.
Okay. Is there any questions from commissioners for the staff?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
One question is if the applicant's not here, and I don't know if just people here in favor or against or online in favor of against, that doesn't give the applicant an opportunity to rebuttal. Why are we even going through this? Why don't we just table it, leave it open and wait till next meeting and not even talk about it?
You could do that.
I feel
Again,
bad if someone in the audience had concerns or someone online had concerns and the applicant's not even here to rebuttal. I don't know if they had an emergency or whatnot, but I don't want to do this twice. So if we should just leave it open and talk about it next meeting if the applicant's not here.
Okay, we can do that.
Or if you guys are in favor of
I don't-
going through it, just in case anybody has questions. I mean, I don't know, it just seems weird to do it twice.
I mean, it's not like it's gonna take that long. If somebody has questions, then I think Commissioner Linares we
Yeah.
have to respect that.
Yeah.
But if nobody has
If
any
there's
issue
no-
with it.
Yeah, if there's no issues or anything, then
Move forward.
why don't we do that? It's a great suggestion. If we have any concerns, if there's any concerns from the public, then we'll table it so that the applicant has a fair opportunity to come back and rebut.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's just even for our benefit, what if some of the commissioners have something that's a concern, the applicant's not even here to rebut that, let's say.
yep, and I'll just add for the record that it's a 47 square feet sign. Again, it's been looked at as its location and the sign would not impact vehicle or pedestrian sight lines or access with that secondary location pushed back.
How do the other commissioners feel? Do you have any concerns? Would you like to table this?
I have a
Gio?
question. You said that we did not receive official location of where the sign's gonna be.
Correct.
So, and the applicant's not here.
This survey map?
So there's a little opening.
Not necessarily, because if you read if you were going to approve this, you would have a motion that they wouldn't be able to install it until they supplied the town with a surveyor's map showing the proper location, make sure it's not in the right of way.
And that is staff's recommendation, again, that they have a survey by a licensed land survey and a plan submitted to the ZEO prior to the issuance of any building permit. That's what we do. And then afterwards, they would have that site confirmed as an as-built and its location in relation to the right of way.
Any other questions, Commissioner Fox?
I would be inclined to agree with David, with Commissioner Linares, and wrote a little bit about Nia's concerns, but and I just read it fully, the draft motion kind of, takes care of that. So if there are any questions, if there's any, if they wouldn't be able to do, kind of, put it together until, all the, everything on the motion was satisfied. So I think we can go ahead with it. Thank you.
Any other comments?
The applicant's not here. I say just table it until the applicant shows up so we can discuss it.
Okay. I don't do that. Can I have a motion to table?
Motion to table this petition to the next meeting. Keep it open.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, just table and then the motion would be and continue to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion to table and continue at our next meeting, petition 15-23. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Very good. We'll have this on the agenda for next meeting. Thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of meeting August 23rd, 2023. Is there any corrections for
Yes,
this?
Mr. Commissioner.
Yep.
Or Chairman. Last page, the address is 1934 Main Street, not 1994.
Mhm.
19,
It's like 1934, I said 1932 there. 1934 is the front house, 1932, the actual house that's in violation is in the back. It's the back lot.
okay, so it should be 1932 instead of 1994.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll have that correction. Noreen will make that correction. And can I have a motion? Is there any other corrections? I'll entertain a motion with the corrected item.
So move.
Motion made, second,
Second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with the correction. Okay, next thing on the agenda is new business. Petition 2123, Commissioner Fox, would you read that?
Yes, sir. As soon as I put my glasses on. Petition 21-23, renewal of special permit 34-17 for a home occupation business under petition 3.4.4 of the regulations. Applicant / contact Amy Berube, owner Amy and Jamie Berube.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. The applicant is welcome to come forward if you'd like. I think not all of us are familiar, but if you could give us a little layout of it, and I don't believe there's been any problems, so yeah, a little bit about what you do would be good for the commissioners, yes.
I run a very small dog sitting business out of my house. We have a couple dogs that stay overnight for boarding and a handful of dogs that come during the week for daycare.
I'll go to the staff report.
Yeah, so staff notes that this again was approved under an initial home occupation permit per stipulated judgment for a period of 1 year. It was then subsequently renewed for 3 years. Staff has received no concerns or complaints about the operation. I've discussed this with the CEO. Again, there have been no issues brought up about the current operation, and staff is recommending again that it be approved, again, renewed for a period of 3 years, just like the last approval, and again, subsequent to the conditions of that stipulated judgment.
Any questions from commissioners for staff or for applicant? Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chairman to the planner. Paul, I called you about this and I'm not sure. Is there any way we can waive the renewal? I mean, there were really no complaints about it around the business, even when we were discussing it originally. Just one, but those of us that were here know what was going on. And the first renewals, no problem, no complaints since then. So my question is there anything in the regulations that would prevent us from waiving renewals? In other words, we really don't need to sue every 3 years. She's a nice person, but she has a lot of other things to do besides sit here and watch us
So the way the regulations are written, it talks about a home occupation for a period of 1, 2, or 3 years. There's no other permission, no other provisions that talk about a waiver. Again, when the stipulated judgment went through, it was again for a period of 1 year, and then part of that was written that went through the judge was, additional time period should be considered. 3 years was the next renewal, and by our home occupation, again, it says 1, 2, or 3 years. It doesn't provide any other waiver provisions.
Okay, so we can't even like extend it to 5 years?
Is it by that, there's nothing specifically that would enable that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
We haven't changed a bit.
Thank you very much. Okay, next thing on the agenda is old business, but that was tabled, so that'll stay on old business. Next thing on the agenda would be petition 21-23, and I'll entertain a motion.
Petition 21 dash, somebody else want to read it? Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fox.
Motion to approve petition 21-23. Move to approve petition 21-23, it says 13 here, for a renewal period of 3 years with the following conditions as presented in the motion for stipulation of judgment, unquote, for docket number HHD-CV-18-609-4643S. 1. The maximum number of clients' dogs allowed on the property pursuant to this home occupation permit is 5, which number does not include or limit in any way the number of dogs owned by Ms. Berube. Overnight stays will be limited to a maximum of 2 dogs. 3. The sound of clients' dogs barking is not allowed to the extent that it becomes a nuisance, and strict protocols shall be used to ensure barking does not become a nuisance to neighbors. And 4. Existing fencing around the outdoor area used by clients' dogs shall be maintained or replaced in a manner to be equally or more of a buffer between neighboring properties. Reason for approval: the renewal is for the same activity approved under permit 34-17 pursuant to the stipulated judgment with no modifications to the proposed building or use.
Okay, motion on the floor from Commissioner Fox. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Trista. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is petitions for public hearing scheduling. I'll ask the staff if you'd like to discuss any of that.
Yes. So the first one is a restaurant, again, table or counter service. This is actually at 36 Fen Road is the overall parcel. That's the one with Stop and Shop and the large area of just the multi-tenant. The exact tenant location they're looking to go into is 26. So that'll be on the next hearing scheduling. The freestanding sign at 550 Cedar Street. As we know, that's the Dakota Partners, Cedar Point, that's going on over there. So they'll be coming in for their freestanding sign. Again, the final sign wasn't shown on the site plan, and therefore it has to come back and go through the special permit process. And then the last item, and it'll be scheduled for the next meeting, is the zoning regulation text amendment for special permit uses, town center. And this was actually updated from what you see on the screen in the packet, again, where it notes the specific uses that it is accessory to. So those will all be on the next agenda, along with the public hearing that was continued tonight. So there'll be 4 public hearing items at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for the?
I have one question on that 36 or 26 Fen Road. Not in the going in the existing restaurant that was there, or is this a new location? There was a restaurant in that, then they closed.
I'll have an answer for you on that one. I'm not as familiar with the independent
My
operations.
question is
there,
more
but-
of if there was a restaurant there before and it's just changing names or ownership, does it still have to come back if the occupancy isn't changing from what it was prior? That's all.
Yeah, again, yeah, I'll look into that. I know it was reviewed by the CEO.
Okay.
And if it was an existing restaurant, one to another, it should just be one to another, but I definitely will look into that.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the next thing on the agenda is our town planners report.
Okay, so just to update the commission, and it was asked at the last meeting. So again, the 1934 Main Street, the zoning officer was out there on the 6th of this month, spoke with the people doing repairs on cars on site. We will be following through with enforcement on this property. It will require multiple visits, documentation, and again, we did witness a car almost fully dismantled. No shocks, no struts, no tires, missing a driver's side door. Pretty much every car on the lot does have a license plate. So we're working with the police department as well for verification. But yes, that will be continuing with enforcement.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. Again, the parking on the lawn adjacent to that, we're continuing to work with them. They know it going forward. Again, at some point, this is a willful violation of the regulations if someone continues to do it over and over again. And we don't ideally go to citations for, independent residential owners when it's something like that. However, continued willful violation of the zoning regulations does require increased enforcement. So we'll continue to work with them. From there, 2151 Berlin Turnpike, there's an application now in front of the Conservation Commission for the inland wetlands. This is the Mapleview Motel. They also submitted a site plan modification. What they submitted is actually below the threshold to require commission approval. It is a small one garage addition, a small dining room addition to the existing, because there's an existing residence that is already permitted as part of that motel hotel in that location. And they're just taking an existing patio and making it a covered way. Again, it's a minimal addition to it. It does not trigger the modifications to bring it to the commission. However, they are in front of the Conservation Commission for wetlands because they are within the upland review area. 333 Berlin Turnpike, Building D, I believe I'd spoke about this previously. That's the one where you're coming down the driveway, the first small commercial one on your right. It would be coming from the Berlin Turnpike. We're working with the design engineer. They've come up with a design for patio next to that one for outdoor dining. Again, we're reviewing it for safety. We're reviewing it for that along with the town engineer. These have been administratively approved going through. We'll share with you kind of what goes through in the iteration. Again, we think it's a good thing that more and more in that area are actually creating their own dining district on this one site with so much outdoor dining that kind of does a lot for the vitality and future of that site. So I think it's a good opportunity with the residences behind it that they could utilize that, and that'll become a great amenity for them as well. From there, out on Payne Road, the Pike, we've gotten a little more update from them. They just submitted kind of some outdoor lighting plans showing a little more detail on their outdoor patio. So we're reviewing that. Again, the amenity space that they're providing for their residents, which is always great. And then from there, we're also continuing to work with the owners of the Keeney building. They've been updating their site plan. There was stormwater systems that they've had to verify, clean out existing chambers, and kind of as we go through with them, again, they're looking at what the uses can be, and we'll be coming in front of the commission, hopefully in the near future, because as you remember, what they got approved for was, again, kind of retail in the front. And as they continue to develop out their business plan, they'll come in with kind of what the concept is and what the uses are, so they can have things ready in hand when they're ready for applicants to come in for leasing. Again, that would be the best opportunity to capture applicants for the site and to revitalize that site. Again, staff continues to support those efforts. It was noted earlier, AR building, we have not got any specific start date or anything on that site. No clearing has been done. We'll continue to work with the owners. Again, once they set a pre-construction meeting with us, and then I'll have an update for the commission as well. We are continuing again to work on our streetscape projects and our current grants to move forward, putting together the Deep Rec Trail grant. That's that connection between Newington Junction where it dead ends to West Hartford. So we're looking at that in conjunction with everything around the Newington Junction area. This is all being looked together as one thing, because it's an opportunity to, instead of look at just zoning, just biking, just historic area, trying to pull it together in one unified package to kind of help revitalize that area. So those are the items I have to report on, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Paul, will we have an opportunity to review the streetscape improvements? Just wondering.
For
like Hartford Avenue that you're working on now?
yes, yeah, I think they'll go through their state-funded projects under the Urban Action Grant. I'm happy to share them. Currently, we're going to be working with landowners, kind of working with them as we develop out the plans before the final plans are submitted to the state for construction.
Yep.
But yes, I'd be happy to share those with the commission.
Very good. Commissioner Woods.
Being designed in-house, or are you working with an engineering firm?
They're being designed at concept levels. They're being designed in-house until the final concept is approved. And then likely the engineering, as part of the grants, you can roll in those, and that has actually been looked at to get the final construction drawings.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Paul, one other thing would be, is there any news on Culver Street? Have you heard anything?
I have not.
Okay, thank you. And I think it was our last meeting, Paul, we talked about, non-conforming uses and how it's not really a good idea to create zoning regulations and enforce businesses non-conforming. There was a case on the auto regulations a few years back where they took the regulations out and those businesses had to sue the town and they won. And so I was wondering, because it affects the mortgages, it affects your financing and your property values. So just as a little update for the commissioners, maybe you could put a little report together on, why it's a good idea not to have, when you change regulations, to change regulations without creating non-conformity.
Yes.
Maybe you could give a little report on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, if there's no objections, we have communications. We have CROG letters. Is there any questions for the staff concerning the CROG letters? Okay, hearing none. Paul, you have staff reporting on the drive-through regulations?
Yep. That is included in your packet. So what I did is I kind of went through just to provide a notation to the commission of the items that were changed. Again, if you would like an independent copy of the drive-through regulations as proposed, they're going to be on next meeting. It'll be posted on land use. But so item A was removed. Again, this was the very specific requirement. On one street, this is allowed. On another, this isn't allowed. So that has been removed. Staff also included a copy of, because it was noted there was another drive-through approved that was in an area off of arterials. So I wanted to kind of share that. Again, it's past its date of when it was approved and for its 5 years. However, you can see kind of how the bank was designed. This would be, again, upfront on the streetscape. And actually looking at this, I could even see where more infill could have taken place along it. And this is kind of thinking about how those regulations were drafted. That's the point of the drive-through regulations. And the commission has been doing this to keep that drive-through in the rear, to make it part of the site circulation, to make it part of the driveway auto-dominated areas of a site, which typically have it with parking lots, and to keep the building as a stronger streetscape and more pedestrian, again, along the streetscape. So I just kind of wanted to share that with the commission because it was noted. Item B, it was added that restaurants are encouraged to add outdoor seating and walk-up windows where feasible. I would like to actually continue looking at walk-up windows and looking at more opportunities in the town center. We might have an opportunity to either add more language or add more encouragement for this. I think this would do good for actually current businesses and actually even some new businesses looking to move in. Again, as we have more and more people who are looking to revitalize and actually build towards the parking area, which was always a concern for town center, to have some uses that are towards the back of there, to have that more pedestrian interaction, more use of that, people not just wanting to park along the street to get right into the front door, that there's more behind as well. From there also, the driveway entrance and egress locations from item F, space at least 100 feet. That was replaced with driveway entrance and egress locations shall be located to prevent conflicts with intersections and vehicular and pedestrian circulation. So it was noted kind of that distance, some of the existing ones that are there. Again, it'll be reviewed on a site-by-site basis as presented by the applicant's engineer and as reviewed by the town engineer. And again, the litter control plan item was removed. Again, the only thing that wasn't noted in there is when I referred to this section, I changed this section to cite the specific regulation I was doing, again, to prevent any ambiguity.
Questions for the town planner? Very good. Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, we're at public participation. If there's anybody online or here that would like to come forward, you're welcome to come forward.
Howard. I just have a question for Paul, when you can answer this. Could I get a copy of this drive-through regulations whenever you could, whenever possible? Bring it to the next meeting or something, or whenever you get a chance to answer? It's my only, just like a copy.
We'll have a couple extra copies at our next meeting. It'll be on our agenda next meeting, and I'll have the staff have a few copies for public.
I
Okay?
appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chairman.
Anybody else online?
Mr. Chairman, I may add, they will be available too. We're updating, again, that current land use applications is where we have all of our land use applications. For the next meeting, it's going to be down there as a clickable link as well. And anyone looking to get a copy of these regulations can always get them from our office, and they're also filed with the town clerk as well.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else online wishing to speak? Anybody else here?
Yes, there was. I think the hand got lowered, but I'm going to click allow to talk.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I had my hand raised 3 times. I don't know what happened, but thank you for recognizing me, and I appreciate it. I sat through multiple public hearings on the renewal or on the application that was up for renewal tonight for Amy Berrubi's property, and I agree with Commissioner Fox. I don't remember hearing any one, but maybe one complaint, if 2, against the initial application, and then it went to court and the court decided it. And I just was a little bit confused with Commissioner Claffey asking whether or not people in the public might have something to say about the renewal of this application, when in all the years that I've been looking or watching and attending TPZ meetings, unless it's a public hearing, we don't get to speak. If somebody had something to say, I would think that they would have done it by now. And I personally looked at the agenda and saw Amy Berrubi's name, and that's why I wanted to watch tonight to see what was happening. I think, and I may be mistaken, I thought that it was said that the last time it was renewed, it was done not as an agenda item and under administrative procedure. Is there any reason why it has to be on the agenda and it can't be just done administratively somehow so that Mrs. Berube doesn't have to come back every 3 years? It's just something I had in the back of my mind as a question is why she keeps having to come back. But I know you don't answer the questions, but it's just something I was thinking about. Like I said, I've been watching this since the beginning and I've been at the multiple hearings and just had that question in my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose. Anybody else on public? Paul, would you like to answer Rose's question there?
Yes. So as I stated, and it might have been confusing the way I stated it. When I reviewed the minutes, again, looking through the file at the last meeting, it was brought up as an item not on the agenda and added to the agenda, but it was approved by the commission. Again, that's just because the way the regulations are written. it says
I might
by
have
the commission.
misspoke the way
No worries.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Any questions? I want to thank everybody. It was a very good meeting. We're at remarks for commissioners, if anybody, Commissioner
I have
Clapp.
one. I just want to clear the air on why I brought up the address. It's a simple question. I don't know why we wanted to go down the rabbit's hole of trying to make an exception when every business owner in town who wants to have a home business is under the same regulations. I brought it up purely as administrative to make sure that we're not breaking a rule, a law that's above us because an address wasn't put on it. It had nothing to do with the address in question. It just purely had to do with someone could have actually come here and talked about it after it was over, like at the end of the meeting, because it's taken care of. So we better watch that we don't in the future make precedents on things and try to allow something like this when every other business comes here, photography business, a guitar guy at the CPA. So
Okay.
that's all I was trying to make, was to make sure that we weren't.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other remarks from commissioners? All right, I want to thank everybody and thank NCTV and Paul, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
Sure. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's what I want to say right there.